Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to introduce you to my utility whistle. This is meant for developers who use Windows and the Windows subsystem for Linux. The purpose of this utility is to automatically download Ubuntu WSL images, create WSL2 instances, and to provision them as requested by the user. There are going to be three parts to this video. In the first part, I'm going to do a live demo of the utility. In the second part, I'm going to do a code walkthrough. And in the third part, I'm going to do a live demo of adding a new feature to the utility known as a setup bundle. So let me now quickly go to my other screen where I have the Windows virtual machine on the left and the README file of the whistle on my GitHub side by side. I use a Windows virtual machine here for the first part of the demo because I want to make sure that the settings and the config on my base Windows do not interfere with the demo and potentially hide any problems. And for that reason, I make this virtual machine as close as possible to a newly installed Windows. So let's follow the instructions mentioned in the document here. Download the repository as a zip file and extract it. So let's do that over here. And for simplicity, let's extract it directly in the downloads folder like this. It doesn't really matter where you do it. And here we need to do this one-time setup before I go to the PowerShell terminal. You could also go to the directory first and then run this one-time setup, but you're going to restart the system anyway, so it doesn't matter. Okay, it needs admin permissions to do this. Let's give that. It's now going to download the Windows subsystem for Linux. This is a one-time setup required. And once this is done, you can run the script as many times as you want to create multiple instances of WSL2, which is one of the nice features of this utility and the main motivation for me to create this utility in the first place. All right, it's going to take a while because I'm running this Windows virtual machine, and I also have this video recording software running. So there is a little excess load on my machine for the moment. All right. Yeah, it's printed some magic numbers for some reason, but okay, let's ignore that and follow the instructions to restart the computer. One other nice thing about this virtual machine is you can continue video recording while the system is also restarting. All right, it took a little longer than I expected, but it's here finally. And let's now continue with the setup. Okay, as the step 3 mentions, I'm going to run this command. Uh, I'll I'll also explain what this command does, but let me first start running it, and I'll explain it while it is doing stuff. Okay, it has started. Okay, I think I already had this done before the recording, so I'm going to clear this stuff and run it again. Yeah, so while it is running, I'll explain what I have also mentioned here in the document. This runs a PowerShell script known as whistle.ps1 and it will create a WSL instance with the name that you specify here. So this is going to be the name of the machine, which by default is whistleblower, but you can also give it a different name of your choice. Of interest to note here is this execution policy bypass. And what this does is uh, it bypasses the security policy of PowerShell. Now, as I have explained here, PowerShell has a security feature whereby uh, you need to sign the PowerShell script if you want to execute it, and there are different security levels for this. So if you download a PowerShell script from the internet and you want to run it locally, it needs to be signed by whoever has created the script. And At first, I thought I could as well give a signed script here, but then when I went through the document to figure out how to do that, I realized that I need to buy a code signing certificate, which at the moment I don't want to do because I don't actively write PowerShell scripts, and I don't know how much traction this vessel is going to get. Although considering the benefits that it will provide and with the contributions from the developer community, I'm hopeful that it will be useful to many people. So if if I receive sufficient sponsoring, I might actually go for a code signing certificate. But until then, there is this execution policy bypass. But the source code of this whistle is open source, so uh, you can go through the PowerShell script and figure out what it is doing uh, to be sure that it's not doing any bad things on your computer. And I'm also going to explain this in the second part of this video, so you can be assured before you download the script and run it that bad things will not happen to you by running it. All right, so now coming to what it is doing here, this is one of the optimizations that I have put into the script, which I will also demonstrate later in the code walkthrough, where the WSL image will be downloaded from the Ubuntu website, and this will be done the first time because this image is a few gigabytes in size, and it's wasteful to download it fresh each time. So what I do here is I download it once and then the next time I just reuse it. So this is going to take a while to do this import. This is mostly because it's running on a virtual machine and I have this video recording software also running. I do not have a huge amount of RAM on my machine because usually I don't need it. You are of course free to skip ahead to after the installation completes. Okay, it has now done the image import and named it whistleblower. And here we're going to download VS Code, which is the IDE that I prefer to use, which by the way I have also explained some of this rationale in the FAQ over here, the frequently asked questions. And now you might be wondering, uh, what is this frequently asked questions if I am introducing this tool recently? And as you can see from the commit logs, this is a relatively new utility. So who is so who is actually asking these frequently asked questions, right? And indeed, as the Reddit meme suggests here, nobody asked. But then there's also this other meme, which is the answer to this. It's me. I'm the guy who asked. Yeah. There is exactly one person who has asked these questions, and that is me. So technically, you could say that these are frequently asked questions, with the frequency being one, because that one person who asked the question is me. And the reason why I do it like this is I found this to be the most clear and convenient narrative to explain why this utility was created, why it was organized in a certain way, as compared to writing a dissertation on why we choose X instead of Y and why VS Code instead of something else, and so on. So that's why it is in the Q&A format. If you have more questions to ask, then please post them here, for example, in the discussions on the GitHub repo. I'll also put a link to this uh, in the video description later. Okay, so let's wait for this to complete. Alright, it looks like VS Code got installed. And now it is running the provisioning script inside the WSL instance that has been created. And notice here this message, no username was specified, and this is important. It's also marked important here in the documentation that by default the username and the password will be the same as the instance name, which in this case is whistleblower. There is also a way to override this. If you don't like this idea of having the same username password, then you can override it when you are running the command, which I will show later in the code walkthrough. But practically, I have found that this is almost never of any use to override it. And while this setup is happening, I can also give a little background on this whole virtual machine topic. So you see, I have a base Windows machine. Then I have this Windows virtual machine running on top of my base machine, and now I'm installing WSL, which is in many ways it's a Linux virtual machine running on that Windows virtual machine, which in turn is running on my Windows base machine. Which means you need to enable the nested virtualization feature here for this to work properly. Now, for the majority of you who will be using this utility, you most certainly would not need this feature. I am doing it here only for the demo, as I had mentioned. And the reason for doing that was also, as mentioned, I want to start from a Windows machine that is as clean as possible without interference from the stuff that I already have on my base machine. But for most of you, if you like this utility and you want to use it, you would most likely be running it directly on your Windows-based machine. So, but if you do come across a situation where you have to use this nested virtualization, um, uh, I mean, enabling the feature by itself is not really difficult. It's when things don't work and you need to do some troubleshooting or debugging, that's when things can get interesting. But I'd assume that if you are into a situation where you have a Windows virtual machine running on another machine and then you are trying to install WSL on the virtual machine, then you're probably already an advanced level developer, so you can figure it out. But if for some reason you have problems with that, then feel free to write a comment either on the YouTube video where I'll be hosting this, or in the GitHub repo. You can open a discussion, and I can try to support you to deal with that problem. But like I said, this is very unlikely to be a scenario that you will encounter. But if it happens, then you can most likely already figure it out by yourself. But you also can ask for support if you really get stuck with that. So yeah, While this, what is this setup going to do? Like I mentioned, it's going to do some provisioning of the WSL machine that is being created. It's going to install some default utilities, or rather than default, I would call them more like standard utilities. It will do some standard configuration, which makes sure that once your WSL system is up, it is ready for you to use without having to do anything extra. And while this setup is running, and because it's kind of slow because of this load on my system with the video recording, let me also give you a little motivation for, or rather, let me explain to you my motivation for creating this utility. And this I did mostly because it was quite limiting for me to have the standard approach of having only one WSL instance. If you follow the official WSL documentation, they say you enable WSL, you choose the Ubuntu release type, or if you don't want Ubuntu, you want let's say Debian or Fedora or any other flavor, then you just do that, and that's it. But for my development work, many a times I found this to be limiting. And to give you some intuition for this, you consider when you work on a development project, and let's say you use Git. In Git, you are going to very likely use this feature called branching, which means, for example, you have a branch to work on a feature X, and while you are making code changes, a bug is reported, let's say. So what you're going to do is you're not going to abandon your current work, obviously. You're going to commit it to the feature X branch, push it to your remote GitHub Enterprise or whatever. Uh, then you will create another branch to work on the bug fix, and you will make progress like that. Uh, Taking it one level further, there are cases where you might, for convenience only, you might create multiple instances of that repository. So you can, because beyond a certain point, managing these branches also can get quite tedious and error prone. So you might say, I'm going to create two instances of this repository locally. Instance one, I'm going to work only on features and bugs related to component A of my software, and on instance 2 I'm going to work with the features and bug fixes of component B. So there is one higher level of organization of branches that you're doing there. With WSL, uh, the benefit is that you can do this organization at another higher level, which practically I have found very useful in my work, because it's not only the code and the repository. You also have dependencies, for example, on data sets. Maybe you have to connect to a database, you have to connect to a web server, and there are multiple, let's say, versions of it. There are multiple sources for your data set. You have the Git repository, but then you also have dependencies on this other stuff. You may have to also use other utilities for your software to work properly or for testing, and those have their own versions, etc. So, every time you are switching from one feature to another feature in your development, you also need to make sure that you change the corresponding versions of all those dependencies. Now, ideally, you would like the software to be what is known as evergreen, which means the latest version of the software is deployed for all customers at all times. But practically, that happens in only a very few number of cases. So, too very often, if you are working on a software project, you have multiple versions to support, and those versions need to be tested against multiple different versions of dependencies. So what I found most convenient to deal with this problem was that I just create a new WSL instance for each such um, let's say dependency combo, so to speak. right? So if this week I'm going to work on feature X, I'm going to load my virtual machine WSL virtual machine 1. And next week, if I'm going to work on feature Y, then I'm going to load the other WSL machine. The other way of organizing it I found very useful is with the Docker containers. So I would have a WSL machine which ran only Docker images, or rather Docker containers, and then a separate WSL machine is where I would do my actual development work. And because the ports and all the other resources are shared between WSL instances, it worked in a it worked in a very seamless way. The benefit of this also is that, for example, you want to switch the software version from version 1 to version 2, or I don't know, version 3.4 to 3.5, then all you have to do is you shut down that machine which is running the Docker, and you load another instance. So it's practically plug and play management of all the development dependencies, which in my development work I found very convenient. It reduces the amount of human errors, and it's less tedious, and I would even say it's more elegant to do it in that way. So you can have a WSL machine where you have 5 Docker containers running, and that's it. You don't need to uh, you start and stop Docker containers one by one. You just put all your dependencies together into one machine, and you bring it up or you bring it down. Okay, so this setup is still running. You can, while watching the video, you are of course free to skip ahead to the next part. I will also try to organize this video into chapters later, so you can skip ahead to the relevant timestamp. But we'll see about that, depending on how much time I have to do post processing of this video. All right, and while this setup is continuing, it's also a good time for me to share another meme here, which also explains my motivation for creating this script, and it is this: if there is a task that can be done in 10 minutes, then you have to go for the programmer move and find a way to automate it in 10 days. You can call it a programmer move, a developer move, or an engineer move, whatever you prefer. But this is something which, although it's in on Reddit, it's presented as a kind of a joke. But there are also very good reasons for doing this. The most, let's say, naive explanation of why you would want to do this is, of course, that it may take you 10 days to automate it once, but after that, it's going to save you a lot of these 10-minute tasks that you would normally do. Which is true to some extent if this script is going to be used on a regular basis. A slightly more, let's say, nuanced reason for this would be that by automating, you eliminate any chance of, or at least you greatly reduce any chance of human errors. So, for example, if you are like a sysadmin or you are in charge of configuring multiple machines. You don't want to give like a notepad text file to your users and say, please, copy paste these lines one by one and do it like this, because there is always a possibility that something goes wrong in that process, and then things things can get quite difficult to fix in some cases. So by writing an automation script and telling people that you just run this script, it will take care of everything. That eliminates a lot of these problems that can potentially crop up. But in my personal experience, what I have found useful is that is that when you set out to automate things, you get to understand your system, uh, your code in a much deeper way than you would do otherwise. And by that, what I mean is, uh, if you copy instructions from a text file and paste it into your terminal, it gets the job done, but you do not really understand what is going on. But in many cases, when you set out to automate things, and when you realize what works and what doesn't work, that gives you a deeper understanding of how the system actually behaves and what the command that you are giving actually does. And in the second part, in the code walkthrough part, I will share with you some examples of this as well. Okay, so I think we are coming very close to we are coming very close to the completion of this installation. Yeah, it's installing certain VS Code extensions. This is usually the final part of the provisioning script by default. All right. With that, the setup is finally completed, and as the message says here, we will now start using this whistleblower. Okay, now we are inside the WSL machine. As you can see, whistleblower at loose dose. Loose dose being the name of the virtual machine that I'm running on, which yeah. So let's not use this Windows mounted location. Let's go to the home directory. And here I'm going to show you the significance of this important thing here. This is this most likely you will need this when you are trying to run any sudo command. So let's say you want to install something and you start by sudo apt or sudo apt get update and you will have this familiar prompt. So as you can see, the name of the user is now whistleblower because that was the default, which is also the name here. And then the password is also going to be whistleblower. And yeah, the reason why I did it like this is from a completely practical standpoint, because like you remember, I mentioned sometime earlier in the video that many a times I have multiple instances of these WSL machines. And sometimes I may use them only in this week or the next week, and I may not use them again for some time. And it's not convenient to remember the passwords for so many machines if I set a new one. So the most convenient thing to do is uh, you set the same standard username and password. Then it doesn't matter if you use the machine after 2 months. You know what the password is, and this is. And I know there are people who are quite paranoid about this, especially in the corporate world, which is not entirely unjustified. I would say that how can you have such a publicly known username and password? Is that not a security problem, etc.? And in a sense it is, but not in this case because this WSL machine is running completely on your local machine. It doesn't have any direct access to anything that your base machine doesn't have, right? So if your base machine password is compromised, then having this WSL password is not really such a big deal. And moreover, even though you can run sudo commands here, it does not mean you get the privilege to do bad things on your base machine, because for that you need admin access on the base machine as well. So uh, I think that should take care of such security concerns. But like I mentioned, I also have a provision to override this with a different username and password if you want to, which I will show you in the second part of this video. So in order to proceed to the second part, I'm going to first shut down this virtual machine, and I will do the rest of the demo on my base machine. Um you could of course also run the VS Code or any other software directly here in the WSL that has just been created, but that's going to load my system even more, so I'm not going to do that for now. I'll just shut down this thing. And while that is shutting down, I'm going to start this console emulator or commander on my base Windows machine. So yeah, let me move this from my other screen here. And yeah, hopefully while this after this shutdown is complete, we should have more memory and less load on the system. So the next part of the demo should be much smoother than what we have had until now. Okay, loose dose has been shut off. So let's just let me just put it here in this blank space for now. It's not really so important for the moment because I'm going to start VS Code here anyway. So now we are on this WSL instance on my base machine, which is known as Mayajal. I'm going to start this. Okay, we are into Mayajal. Let's go into the Whistle source code, uh, and we are going to open VS Code here. I guess I can as well get rid of this, or okay, let it be running. Uh, yeah, let's put this VS Code here, or actually I guess I don't need this web browser for now. I'll just expand it, although there is not much to show on the right side, but yeah, let's just continue like that. Okay, so this is the whistle.ps1 script that I had mentioned earlier, which in the early part of the demo I said that it is run with the execution bypass. I'll explain to you what this script actually does so that you can be sure it's not doing anything bad. The first part of this is quite the usual stuff, the documentation, what are the parameters and what it does and stuff like that. And this is where the real action starts. So this is the URL where the Ubuntu WSL image is hosted. Um, and we are going to download the Ubuntu image that the user specifies. And by default, it's going to be Noble, which is the latest long-term support or LTS version of Ubuntu. You can also go for Jammy or any of the other previous releases of Ubuntu. You can go for the current release tag, or there are other release tags with the date stamp, and most likely you can go with the AMD 64 architecture. And then there are the setup args, which are the arguments which will be passed to the bash script, which will be run later. And By the way, all this is also explained here in the contributor documentation on the GitHub README. You can go through that as well and use this video as a reference to get more clarity on what is happening. So yeah, anyway, so the first step is it's downloading this image, and this was the image, this was the message that you saw earlier, where the image was already downloaded, and so it doesn't download it again. Then in the second part, it's going to import this WSL image with the given image name, which by default is whistleblower, like I mentioned, but you can also change it to any other name of your choice. And if you're going to create multiple WSL instances, you will most certainly have to give a different name for each, because as you saw in the early part of my demo, if there is already a WSL image with the given name, then it just exits with an error. So you have to choose a different name. You can have a little fun with the names that you choose here. It doesn't have to be some boring name like Ubuntu 22 or anything. You can give the name of your favorite Avengers character, or whatever you prefer. And then you have here this winget install VS Code, and like explained here, I do this because VS Code is a general purpose IDE which works with many programming languages and multiple file formats, etc. Although there could be language specific IDEs that are more optimized for a specific language, but in order to have this utility as generic as possible, I went with VS Code. There is also this bug because of which I have this temporary workaround. Yeah, it was probably a good idea to have this side by side, so I can show you stuff that I have here. Yeah, this I made this workaround because of this bug over here, where because of a certain change, this command line version of the VS Code, which I used to install the VS Code extensions, that wasn't working anymore. So that was the reason for this. This is a temporary workaround, but the good news is I think this was fixed recently. Uh, uh, yeah, it was fixed, and some developer micro hobby has confirmed that it works. So maybe I will verify that offline, and maybe then I can get rid of this workaround to pin the version to 1.93. So that's just a temporary workaround that we have. And in the last part, it's going to pass control to this whistle.bash, which is where the provisioning actually happens. And this Let's go to the whistle.bash and see what's happening there. Here also the first part is the documentation, where you display the help, and this is the username which you can use to override the default username password. Then you organize this. This script is organized into what I call the setup bundles, which means for every new, let's say, programming language or utility that you want to provision in your WSL, you define what is known as a bundle. Uh, and then those bundles are further divided into two types. It's either a core bundle, which means it will be always installed, or there could be additional optional bundles, which will be installed only if you ask for it. All right, and then you have this. this associative array which defines what's a setup bundle and what's a core bundle and what's an optional bundle. There is this get_opt which parses your command line arguments. This is all the standard straightforward stuff. And then we have some VS Code extensions that will be automatically installed by the provisioning script. So there are some standard extensions which I have predefined here, which I would imagine would be useful for everyone, or at least it wouldn't cause any harm. And now this is where the actual provisioning starts. Now, when you import a WSL image, by default the user is going to be root. We are going to take advantage of that, and in the first part we are going to run the setup as a root user. Later we are going to switch to a standard user as well to do some additional setup. This is the part where you set the default user and the password. If you specify the -u or the minus username, which was shown earlier, then you will be prompted for a password. You'll be prompted for yeah. You will specify the user as an argument to the command line, and then you'll be specified to give a password. But be aware that there will be no verification of the password, so you will not be prompted to enter it two times. The password will not be displayed on the screen, so make sure that you type carefully if you're choosing your own password and you remember what you have typed. Um, I didn't want to make this any more user friendly because, like I mentioned earlier, it's practically almost nobody is going to need this. So I didn't want to put in too much effort for that kind of a scenario, which hardly anybody would use. But I left it in here just in case anyone wants it. And then you start executing those various setup bundles that have been defined. So in this case, for example, I took all these instructions directly from the Docker website, the installation instructions. So there is apt-get update, install, and then you need to update something to the Docker list. You need to install some other stuff. There is also this VS Code extension for Docker, which I have defined here. I want to make sure that I can run Docker without sudo, so I run this user mod. Likewise for the Git, which I consider to be a core bundle because practically everybody uses Git as the version control. But if your requirement is something else, uh, I don't know, it could be clear case or whatever. But quite honestly, why would you use clear case when you have Git? But yeah, that aside, there are some nice Git extension. Git related VS Code extensions here, which I find useful. If there are additional extensions that you like, you can also extend this list, for example, which I will briefly touch upon in the third part of the demo. Then you have some utilities like NeoVim, Terminator, and Pandoc, which I personally find useful. You can add more stuff here if you like. There is the Python bundle where you have the usual Python pip, when, wheel, etc. And personally, as the dependency and installation manager for Python modules, I prefer Poetry, which is why I made this also a part of the Python bundle. And then there are VS Code extensions relevant to Python, which is Python, debug, and isort. And at this point, we are going to switch to the standard user to continue the further setup. And in that process, if there are any environment variables that you want to preserve, then you can do it here. And this WSL distro name is an interesting case here. And this is created because of this particular bug. So you have if you don't do this, then for some reason when you try to install or when you try to run VS Code from the command line later, it opens this CLI.js, and then nothing happens. And here I found a comment by another user who on the GitHub discussions, where another user uh, provided this solution to this, or at least it's kind of a workaround where yeah, there is this developer Giatru who mentioned this, that you need to have this environment variable. And this is kind of an example of why open source based, community based development is so amazing. I mean, um, there is no other way I could have figured out why this CLI.js opens when I'm trying to run the VS Code from the command line. I mean, I could probably figure it out myself after analyzing the logs for a while, but somebody else has already dealt with that problem. So why should everybody else have to go through it again? Um Also, if if you are using any open source software, you can also go and read the source code if there is trouble. So if things are not working as you expect, maybe if the documented behavior and the actual behavior is not matching, you go to the code, you try to figure out where the problem is. You could potentially even provide a bug fix, or at least you will have a workaround if you look at the code. So this whole idea of working together as a developer community in open source, where you contribute a few things to the community, you take back a few things, that's really amazing in my opinion. So yeah, that's my personal opinion on this issue, or not issue per se, but more like this kind of community-based activity. And then here you have this copy SSH keys, and this is something I created mostly for practical convenience, because you're most likely going to host your code on something like GitHub or GitLab. Um, and then the most convenient way of authenticating is using SSH keys. And every time I create a new WSL instance, what I was doing is I was manually copying my SSH keys from Windows to um, the new WSL machine, and so I decided to include this also as an automation. And while I was talking about it, and while I'm recording the video, I realized that I have not documented this username properly in my document, which I will probably do later. So long story short, this username is your Windows username, and that is where by default your SSH keys will be saved, under the .ssh folder. But this Windows username is not available to your WSL by default, which means you need to make that available, and for that you need to set a certain environment variable which allows sharing of other environment variables between Windows and WSL. So I will document this part also in the README later. I just realized this while I was recording the video. So yeah, and in the last part, you have this installation of VS Code extensions. So all the extensions that you have specified at various points in the script, those will be installed directly from the command line over here. So this concludes the part two of my demo. What I wanted to share. And now we are going to move on to the part three of the demo, which is where I'm going to do a live demo of adding a new setup bundle, which is also documented here. So let me just do this side by side. And by the way, the proper approach to do this is to create an issue. So let me also do that as part of the live demo. And let's say I want to install the the bundle for the Rust language. So I'll create a, so for the moment this project is still pretty new, so I don't have like an issue template and things like that. But if this project gains sufficient traction, which I am quite optimistic it will, once people start using it, then we can do the more cool stuff like these templates and so on. So okay, so let's call it provide setup bundle for Rust. This could be the title, and in the setup bundle you need mainly two things. You need here to know what you are going to install as part of the bundle, and you need the VS Code extensions. So for the first part, you can of course refer to the official document here. Mm, and you know it has this as the installation command. And for the second part, let's say you are a new Rust developer, but you want to have a functioning environment to develop in Rust. Maybe you ask other people in the community, which for example is in this Reddit post. So they say here, for example, which extensions do you use, which is kind of the question that that you would have. And let's say there's this nice comment here. You need Rust analyzer, you need this and so on. So we can actually uh, we can actually say that let's have the Rust compiler etc. installed, and let's have these VS Code extensions also by default. So let's go back to this issue. Mm, I would like to have a setup bundle for the Rust programming language. Uh, yeah, I guess I could also start putting in some more details about what we want, but in the interest of time, and since we are live recording this, maybe I'll edit this issue later with all that information. But for now, let me just submit this issue. So I have this issue number 8. Let's need to remember that. We go back here and let's do this side by side again. And as always, we start with a new let's say a new branch for this feature. Okay, so we are now on main. We have now on the latest main branch. Let's check out a new branch. Let's call it uh, create setup bundle for Rust, and let's follow these instructions and see where we can go with that. So the first step it says is to decide if Watchdog is a core bundle or an optional bundle. It's and it's an optional bundle. It's not a core feature of the WSL machine. So in the PowerShell script there is nothing much to do, but uh, on the bash script we need to do some stuff. So the first step to do is go to execute bundle, and we need to put this optional bundle thing. So I'll put it below Python because this copy SSH keys is something like somewhere in between a core bundle and optional bundle, I would say. It's not exactly a core functionality to have those SSH keys, but from a practical perspective, it is quite essential to have your authentication running. So it's kind of somewhere in between. So I'll maintain that order and I will put the optional bundles above like this. So that takes care of step one. Now let's look at step two and try to understand what needs to be done here. So determine if the bundle should be as a root user or a standard user. Um, okay, if it's a root user, you need to put it in inside this if block, and if it's a optional bundle, you need to put it outside over there. After you have gone into the standard user mode. It's but in case of Rust, although the document doesn't say this, uh, there is a certain problem, which is you need this build essential to be installed in order for the Rust linker to work properly. Although the document doesn't directly say that, but this is something I got to know when I ran into trouble and I checked on Stack Overflow. So the way I would organize this is I will run this part, the build essential installation in the root user mode, and then I will do the actual Rust installation in the standard user mode. And like what you would typically do, mm, you will you can either follow the instructions that are mentioned here like this, or you can do what we as developers like to do. We copy paste stuff that is already present and then we modify it. But be careful with what you are doing here because if there is anything left over from the copy paste, then things can go bad. But here it's quite straightforward. So yeah, okay. Technically, you're not installing Rust here directly, but that's all right. So you see, and now while I am recording, I also realize I could have probably done the same for this poetry as well, because here I'm kind of forcing the poetry path to be under the default user, although I'm running as the root user. So perhaps I could have also split this poetry installation and put it into the standard user installation. But that's also maybe something I will analyze and do it after this live demo. So for the moment we don't need this. And the next part is these extensions. And like we said, we want to install these extensions here. Like for example, let's say Rust Analyzer. And how do you know what you need to specify here? So for that, you can go to this extensions here, and let's say there is Rust Analyzer. In this case, of course, this user has quite helpfully given the direct links to the marketplace, but sometimes you may only have the name of the extension, and then you need to know what to do. So that's why I'm kind of showing this other approach as well. Um, this identifier that is mentioned here, this is what you need, and this is what you need to specify in your script. So I'll just put this here, and you need to do this for all of these others as well. Now, of course, I'm not going to do this one by one from the extensions view of VS Code. I already prepared this list in advance, which I will post here. All right, and now you can, oops, you can you can do this. I'm going to use this regex matching feature. So let's say dollar, and I'm going to replace this with this. Yeah, that's it. Now let's get rid of the Python related extensions what we had copy pasted. This takes care of the root user part of the installation, and we will do something similar for the standard user part as well. All right, so we are here. Let's call it Rust, and let's say installing. What was the here? Yeah, it's also installing Rust here, and we take this command from this installation. Now there is one other thing which this document does not say explicitly, but because obviously I ran this script earlier, I know that uh, this script will download from this site, and then it will wait for you to confirm one of the options. Do you want to run the default install? Do you want to customize it? Do you want to cancel, etc.? But we want to have an unattended install, so we have to kind of pass this confirmation prompt directly here. Yeah, so that takes care of, I think, the part 2 and 3. So we have determined whether we want it to be a root user or standard user. Perhaps I should mention it in the document that you can split it. Oh, actually, I think I already did that. You may execute it as a root user and then as a standard user. Uh, we have taken care of this step 3, where we specify what we want to install, the VS Code extensions, and the last part is displaying I mean the display help. So let's go to the top and do that. Now here, to keep things simple, the way I have organized this is by default you just specify the name of the bundle that is available. If you need to explain something which is not obvious from the name, then you provide this kind of one liner. And I do this because a lot of time this kind of documentation will be quite redundant, because and assuming that our target audience is developers, what exactly are you going to write here? So if I say that the Zeta bundle Rust will install Rust and its extensions for VS Code, and then that's something that you as a developer already know. There is nothing extra that you are informing the user by writing a document. So just leave it like that. Uh, yeah, and then coming to okay, so step 4 was the last, and then what you need to do is you need to now test it. So let me quickly do that as well. Let's okay, maybe I'll open a terminal and run it from there rather than directly in the VS Code because my repository here is in the inside the virtual machine, the WSL machine, but practically you have to run this utility from Windows. So it makes sense to test it in an environment which is as close as possible to the actual scenario. Okay, so we are here, and here this file path is going to be a little weird because we have this script actually inside WSL, but that's not really such a big deal. What you need to do now is you need to run this whistle utility. So let's let's call it let's not call it disposable. Let's call it something else. Rust let's say Rust testing, and we provide it these setup box where I'll also actually test Python 3 and Rust here. So this is what I'm going to pass to the script, and let's see what it does. Okay, here also this image has already been downloaded, and the import is going to happen. Okay, uh, yeah, it has completed this stuff. All right, it's going to download VS Code here again, although it's already available on my base machine, as you can see. And yeah, this installer failed because as you can see, my VS Code is already running in the background, but it doesn't matter. It's not really so important because practically you will probably not need to have VS Code running while you are running this script, so it doesn't matter. And if you already have VS Code installed, then also it doesn't matter if the installation fails. Although while I am recording, I realize that I should probably optimize that a little bit because as you saw, it downloaded this executable and then it failed. But perhaps I could avoid this whole download thing if I know that VS Code is already running or something like that. But we will see. We'll see depending on how much time I can find to do that optimization. And it has now started doing the usual stuff here. It's going to execute these setup bundles, Git, utils, Docker, Python 3, and Rust. I did not use the copy SSH keys, which relates to one of the other optimizations that I am planning to do. And by that, what I mean is, let's say while running the provisioning script, initially I forgot to include a certain bundle, and I want to get that installed later. Now, one option, of course, is you go here and you copy paste those commands once your WSL is up and running. But that's not a very nice way of doing things, and that's the whole reason why we have this utility in the first place. So what I'll have to figure out is if there is a way I can run this script after the setup has already completed with only some specific bundles. For example, in this case, the SSH keys. That's something I need to figure out later. Although if you are watching this video and you find that interesting, as well as if you find any of the previous things I mentioned to be interesting about the changes or the enhancements that I need to do, then please feel free to create an issue like I showed in GitHub, and you can make your contributions as well. And now you can compare this with the first part of the video where I was running this on a virtual machine and this was very slow. But now I'm running it on my base Windows machine. Things are running much faster here. And once again, you can skip ahead to the end of this installation if you like, but you can you can also watch this installation as it is happening. For some reason, I personally find this quite oddly satisfying to watch this installation on the terminal after running a command line script. Um, so if you are like me, you can also watch it while this is happening. But if you want to skip ahead, that's fine too. Alright, it is now installing poetry, which means it's it seems to be working properly, at least with the Python part of it. We'll also see in a few moments if the Rust package was set up properly. Alright, it looks like it's downloading the Rust components. So at least the first part of it seems to have worked properly. Alright, Rust is installed now. Great. Okay, the installation has successfully completed, and interestingly, once again, while I was recording the video, I realized there is another bug already in the utility, and you can probably, by looking at the terminal now, you can probably say what that is. It's installed only the VS Code extensions that were specified here at the start. And all those other extensions that I mentioned here were not installed. And I kind of have a hunch for why this is the case, uh, because this VS Code extensions plus equal to happens inside this if condition, but the actual installation happens outside. So it's possible that the variable update did not persist. That's something I will try to figure out and fix it later. But for now, let's just continue with this like this and see if the rest of the things are working fine. So we get into this and let's just check the Rust because that's what we were interested in. Mm, let's call it cargo new hello and cargo run. All right, it has actually installed and run this hello world, which means the Rust is working fine. Let's also see, for example, if the other stuff is okay. Poetry is fine. Python 3 is installed. So yeah, it looks like this setup was fine. And now the question is, what is the benefit of doing all this? I think by looking at this demo, I think it might already be quite clear to you why I created this script. Also in the context of what I had explained earlier, you saw that all that I had to do here was to run one command line uh, script, and that's it. It took care of everything, which means if you have to create multiple instances of WSL. Potentially, there are multiple team members in your team who use WSL. You can just run that command and it will take care of everything without you having to do anything. There is no copy pasting stuff from a notepad or from other internal documentation, etc. Everything is in the code. If you need to update any of these setup bundles. Let's say you want to change the Python version or whatever, you want to add new features to the setup. You don't have to deal with the hassle of updating your instructions file or your readme.txt, whatever you call it. You don't need to keep updating stuff in multiple places. It's all in the code and you just update it there and you're done with it. Um, the other benefit is that, for example, you can fork my whistle utility on your company's internal GitHub enterprises, assuming you are using this at work, of course, and you can extend it with setup bundles that are specific to your project. So, for example, if there are some Git repositories that you always check out. You don't have to, or rather clone. You don't have to do git clone every time. Another benefit is that when you want to install the client side hooks in your git repository, that's also this having this kind of a setup script is a way to ensure that it is not forgotten by anybody, because the client side hooks are not something you can push from the server side. It has to be done on the client side, and then there is always a possibility that you check out a new repository and you forget to update those client side hooks. But if you have this kind of a setup script, that is all already taken care of. Yeah, and like this, there are multiple benefits to this by using this kind of a single setup script. You saw it takes about maybe 15 to 20 minutes, depending on the load on your machine and your system specs, etc. But you can do things like leave the script running overnight, or when you go out for lunch, you can have multiple instances running in parallel on different terminals, etc. And by the time you are back, you have your WSL machine up and running. So those are some of the benefits of why you would do it. And now let's proceed to the next part, which is to contribute this setup bundle back to the developer community. Although in this case, for the moment, the community is just me, but I am hoping that you will find this useful and you will also uh, join me with your contributions. So yeah, this is something I want to add. This is also something I want to add. And then there is this other thing I would like to show you, which is this conventional commits, which is mentioned here. I'll also put a link to this in the description. This is the conventional commit cheat sheet. Conventional commit is one of the standard ways of providing a Git commit. And the benefit of this is that there are, there is always a benefit to a standard, right? That is not up for discussion. But additional benefits are that you can have other tools which make use of this standard to automate stuff. So, for example, you want to automate your release process. The way you do version increment, which is known as semantic versioning. That's one of the best, let's say, benefits of this. So you don't need to keep updating your software versions manually each time. The semantic versioning software will go through these standard commits that you have created, and then it will do the versioning for you automatically. And there are some other tools as well which makes use of this. So the conventional commit way of doing this is you mention the issue number that you're fixing in the footer. You start with what you have done here. So I consider this to be obviously a feature, not a bug fix or a refactoring, etc. So let's describe this in a short sentence. Create a new setup bundle bundle for Rust. Create a new setup bundle for Rust. I think that's a reasonably good description of what's happening. Under conventional commit, you can also write some body of text here with more explanation. But for now, I'm not going to do that. I think the brief summary is clear enough in this case. So we have this here, and now let's push it. Oh yeah, we don't have the remote branch, so let's just copy paste this and send it. And now we should have it already here. Yes, we have here this new branch created with those changes. Let's quickly verify if everything is all right before we create a pull request. So here we have a Rust, we have this, and we have everything here ready. So we can, I'll assign this to myself for now. I'll create a pull request. Now there's just one detail which I think I forgot to mention in this demo, which I will do now, which is this README file. In most cases, you probably wouldn't need to update it, but if you want to update the README documentation, this is where you do. And here I make use of the restructured text format. This is not the Markdown, which is more commonly used. I also like Markdown, by the way. It is very useful for a lot of documentation. But restructured text, it's a little more complex, but it's also more powerful. So that's what I prefer to use. If there are some scenarios where you need to update the README file as well, then this is where you would need to do it. So yeah, I have configured the repo to have at least one review, but as you know, for the moment there is nobody else who is contributing, and I am the only owner and maintainer. So for now, I'm going to just bypass this requirement and merge it. But just to be sure, I will verify all the changes one more time. Yeah, Rust equal to 0. You have these extensions. You have bundle. Yeah, so this is fine. But if if you know you join me in this activity, you start making contributions, then of course I will stop this bypass. I'll create pull requests and wait for somebody to review it. If I find enough reviewers contributing to this project. So let me squash and merge it. Yeah, I can confirm. Yeah, this is a email I use only for my let's say GitHub and other open source contributions. So I'm not really worried if anybody sees it. And that's it. Now the nice thing about this also is although this is probably well known to people who contribute regularly to open source projects in GitHub, but maybe it's not universally adopted, especially in certain corporates. So I'm going to talk about this a little bit. It is the bidirectional traceability. Right, so you have an issue here created, and there is an automatic link created to the commit or the pull request which resolved this issue. So if let's say in future, maybe 3 or 6 months from now, I'm interested in this issue and I want to know how it was resolved, then I go there and I know what happened. Right. So these were the files changed and this is what happened. As well, if I am a new contributor and I want to see how the previous issues have been addressed, then this feature is very useful. You can also, in your Git history, for example, you have these commits here, and you want to see why this commit was created. So you click on it, and then you have this link to the issue. So it's bidirectional traceability. You have a trace from the issue to the commit, as well as back from the commit to the issue. Now, bidirectional traceability is a slightly more general concept. In a proper professional corporate project, let's say, you will have bidirectional traceability at all levels, right from the customer request until it was finally deployed to the customer. At every step, you're going to have a traceability from the customer request, the let's say the technical feasibility or review, etc. The decisions that were made, the software architecture, as well as the test strategy, the design document, etc. So you can have and the same on the other side when you start writing test cases, the coverage data, the deployment information, let's say the version of the software to which it was released and things like this. So from the start of the feature till the end, throughout the entire lifetime, you will have traceability to everything that is associated with it. So yeah, that's a little bit of info dump I wanted to share with you. And some closing remarks before I end this video. If you find this useful, you can consider sponsoring me, either using the GitHub sponsor or buy me a coffee. You can also, if you are Indian or you have the facility to remit to India by UPI, you can use my UPI ID here, or you can scan this QR code to sponsor me if you like. And yeah, I did this video recording completely live, which and I'm probably going to just upload it as it is. Although, but depending on your feedback, I can also upload a newer version of it where all those waiting times when we were waiting for the installation to complete, those can be cut down a little bit. So do let me know in the comments. How you like this video? Do you find this feature useful? I mean this whistle utility useful? Are there some more setup bundles that you think should be included? Or in general, give me your feedback on this video as well as on this utility, which is very valuable and useful for me. So that concludes this particular video, and I will see you next time with some more fun software whenever I develop it. That's it for now. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.